Allah Ta'ala. And this athar, there is some weakness in it, but it's a famous statement attributed to Imam Malik. He says, "Man tafaqaha wa lam yatasawwaf, tafassaq." He says, whoever learns and does not do tasawwuf. Tasawwuf here, according to that times, is somebody who acts upon their knowledge. Somebody who leaves off the dunya, not what it means today. Tafassaq, then they are indeed a sinner. وَمَن تَصَوَّفَ وَلَمْ يَتَفَقَّهْ, whoever acts upon knowledge and does not learn, tazandaq, he leaves off the religion, he becomes a zindiq. So know that acting upon knowledge is the end goal, and the means is knowledge. Knowledge is only a means to the end, and that is acting upon knowledge. Allah knows best.
Quick side announcement. There's a car blocking the assembly, and there's a black Infiniti, license plate ERH959. Please move your car, someone is trying to leave. We don't have to make this announcement again. ERH959, please move your car. Next question. How should we go about seeking knowledge in the era we are in, and with all the distractions around, how can we obtain true sincerity and know we are upon the good?
All the questions are knowledge? Like, what was the question again, sorry?
How can we know sincerity and knowledge in this era?
Sincerity is something that is hard, very hard to achieve. Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that al-ikhlas, that sincerity, alright, ما عالجت شيئا أشد علي من نيتي. He says, ما عالجت شيئا أشد علي من نيتي. There is nothing that I've struggled with more than my intention. Yani sincerity is something that goes up and goes down. So you have to strive to become sincere. So it's not something that you are, khalas, you become sincere, you're good to go. It's something that you have to struggle. And Sulaiman al-Hashimi, he says, al-hadith al-wahid yahtaju ila niyat. The same hadith that you're reading requires multiple intentions. In the beginning I'm sincere, then I become insincere. Then by the end of the hadith I become sincere again. So if one hadith requires sincerity, up and down, imagine your entire journey. So sincerity is something that you have to work on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. It's not something that you just reach and you're good to go. Alright? So one of the best ways to be sincere is by constantly reminding yourself to be sincere. By constantly reminding yourself to be sincere, that's the best way to become sincere. And if you don't care, if it doesn't even cross your mind, that means you're insincere. And Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, that's what he tells us. That is the best way to know whether you're close or not. Allah alam, Allah is best.
Next question is, how can we prepare for the Khalifa, and how do we know if he's here?
I don't know what that question is supposed to mean, but what Khalifa are you talking about? There is no Khalifa. To be honest, wake up for Fajr and come to the masjid. Don't worry about the Khilafah. That's none of your business. Nobody should be worrying about the Khilafah. You're in a non-Muslim country. Right? So, focus on self-development. Don't focus on the others. We want to talk about Khilafah and a person doesn't come to Fajr. Or he doesn't know anything about his deen. Doesn't even know Arabic. Brothers, the last time a Khilafah existed was 100 years ago. And even that Khilafah didn't rule all over the Muslim world like people think. Brothers and sisters, politics is something that is very, very sophisticated. It's not just, oh, Khilafah, all the Muslims unite. That's something very, very hard to achieve. I want to remind you guys, the Sahaba went to war against each other. So get out of your dreams of Khilafah, self-develop yourself, and focus on that. Don't worry about politics. Alright? Sahaba went to war against each other over one issue. Alright? So unity and Khilafah and all of this is something that is very, very far-fetched. Alright? You need to work on yourself first. And then the other person works on themselves. Then inshallah ta'ala we might see some khair. Wallahu a'lam. Allah knows best.
Okay, next question. What are the differences between Shi'as and Sunnis? And what is the correct path?
Bismillah. Shi'ism started off as a political ideology, right? And then it turned to a theological concept. In the beginning, it was the ones who joined Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu's army. Alright, when they fought against Muawiyah. They were called Shi'at Ali. And then after that, it became very biased towards Ali ibn Abi Talib, and some of them, they started making Ali very, very extreme. Little by little, they started saying that Ali ibn Abi Talib was greater than Uthman. Little by little, they started saying that Ali was greater than Abu Bakr and Umar. And this is when the Rafida came about. When they came to Imam Zayd ibn Ali ibn Husseen, ibn Ali ibn Husseen ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. And they said Ali is better than Abu Bakr and Umar. فَرَفَضَ ذَلِكَ. He refused to accept them. فَرَفَضُوهُ. So they refused him and they left his army. So in the beginning of Islam, towards the end of the 1st century, beginning of the 2nd century, Shi'ism was one thing and Rafida was another thing. But then later on they became the same thing. The Rafida were the ones who said Ali was better than Abu Bakr and Umar, and the Shia were the ones that said that Ali was better than Uthman. And then little by little they became one entity, and they believed that Ali ibn Abi Talib is the greatest of all companions, and that majority of the companions that left Islam, and they backstabbed the Prophet ﷺ. And it became a theology that is an innovation, and it might lead to kufr, it might lead to disbelief, depending on the background of the person, and depending on the exact sect, because even Shiism became different sects. Alright? Major difference between Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the Shia is that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we respect the companions no matter how much they differed. We believe that Ali ibn Abi Talib was right, and Muawiyah janabahu as-sawab, walakin he did ijtihad, and they are all forgiven, as Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said in the Quran, وَكُلًّا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى. They all have been promised paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, وَاللَّهِ لَوْ أَنفَقَ أَحَدُهُمْ مِثْلَ أُحُدٍ ذَهَبًا لو أنفق أحدكم مثل أحد ذهبا ما بلغ مد أحدهم ولا نصيفا. If you were to give the mountain of Uhud's worth of gold, you will not reach them giving a half, مد أحدهم, and a mud is an average person's hands put together. ولا نصيف, or even half of it. So that is the major difference between Sunni, Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and Shi'ism. And whoever disrespects the companions, especially the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, they are on the verge of exiting the fold of Islam. Allah knows best.
Next question is, where can a woman go to learn ilm and intense courses, and do you teach any?
Allah knows best.
Is it important to follow a madhab for a beginner, and should I follow the madhab of my people?
Yes, it is important to start with a madhab. You cannot learn without a madhab. Every single person, whenever they learned ilm, they had to start with a madhab. Even the Sahaba, the younger generation of the Sahaba, they were on the madhab of the ones before them. Alright? And the Tabi'een, they were on the madhab of some of the Sahaba. And the Atba' al-Tabi'een, they were on the madhab of the Tabi'een, until these 4 madhabs came about. So to go up the ladder of ilm, you have to start somewhere, and you have to start with a madhab. You cannot start without a madhab. You cannot go directly to the Quran and Sunnah and try to extract rulings, for a number of reasons. Firstly, most rulings are not even found in the Quran and Sunnah. The Quran and Sunnah are sources. Secondly, the evidences, you have to learn how to learn these evidences, and these evidences are different categories, and which one is stronger, and which one do you take by. There's a lot of nuance that comes with learning a madhab. You just need to start by learning a school of thought, then you learn the evidences, then after that you learn the reasons why the scholars they differ. Then after that maybe you get to the level of ijtihad that you can have your own opinion. Allahu A'lam, Allah knows. Now, the following the madhab of your people, yes, the ulama, they said it is recommended to follow the madhab of your people. If your people are Hanafi, you should be Hanafi. If your people are Maliki, you should be Maliki. Unless you can't find anything to study except that madhab. Now.
Can you explain the term Salafi?
The term Salafi. The term Salafi is somebody who attributes themselves to the Salaf, or the righteous predecessors. But not everybody who claims this is correct in their claim. Alright? The Salaf are the three generations that the Prophet ﷺ, he praised. In the hadith of Imran ibn Husayn, al-Bukhari and Muslim, which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, خَيْرُ الْقُرُونِ قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. The best century, or the best of people, are my people, or my century. Then the ones that come after, then the ones that come after. So the first three generations of Islam are the greatest generations to ever live. Alright? And the ulama have differed. How long was the Salaf? Was it for 200 years? Was it for 300 years? Some of the scholars, like Ibn Hajar, they say it ends at the year 220. And others, they say it ends exactly 300 years after the Prophet ﷺ's death, in the year 311. And some of them, they say it's the Sahaba, the Tabi'un, and the Atba'u Tabi'in. Anybody who met a Tabi'i is the last person. And some of them, they say Imam Ahmad was the last one. There's a lot of different opinion on where the cutoff is. But ala kullin, we know that the first 300 years, or the first three generations, these are the greatest of all Muslims. And we should follow them, aqidatan wa fiqhan wa suluka, in our theology, in our jurisprudence, and also in our spirituality. The problem is, many of the people who claim that they attribute themselves to the Salaf, they don't follow the Salaf in all of the matters. For example, fiqhan, in jurisprudence, they don't follow one of the four schools of thought. For example, theology-wise, they don't follow the Salaf in their theology. Or sulukan, from a spirituality perspective, they don't follow the Salaf in their spirituality. Many of the people who claim their attribution to that is not correct. Alright? So, just because you see somebody calling themselves that name, or identifying themselves with that name, doesn't necessarily mean that they are upon the truth. Allah knows best. And there are some that have completely hijacked this term. Hijacked this term, and they are very, very far from the Salaf. Bel, they are the Khalaf. They are the Khalaf, and they have introduced innovations that none of the Salaf used to do. And one of those invitations is gossip and backbiting 24/7 on the mic and in public and in private. This is an innovation. The Salaf never used to do that. Alright, they would be very, very careful on talking about others behind their back. This is one of the innovations of our time. Overusing people's mistakes to gossip them. Alright? And exaggerating in that. This is not from the Salaf. Wallahu a'lam, Allah knows best.
What advice do you have to parents who don't acknowledge or neglect their children's opinions or pains? What advice do you have to parents why they don't acknowledge or they neglect their children's opinions or pains?
Well, it depends. It's very hard for me to see. ولكن at the end of the day, I'm assuming this is coming from a child or a son or a daughter. You should respect your parents no matter what, right? And for the parents, they should have mercy on their children. So children, you should always have respect for your parents. And you're a child, no matter how old you are, you're still a child to your parents. So always respect your parents no matter what. Even if they're non-Muslim, you gotta still respect them. You don't exist without them. And for parents, always show sympathy and mercy to your children. Allah knows best.
What is the best advice to get better with your salah?
Best advice to get better with your salah. Alright? The best thing is to leave off sins. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says in the Quran, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. That salah forbids you from doing sins. So if you leave off sins, salah will become easier. And the vice versa is true. If you do salah, you will probably leave off sins. So leave off sins, your salah will become better. Do salah, you will leave off sins. They go hand in hand. You do those two things in parallel, you'll see your salah eventually getting better. It's not going to happen in one day, it's a process.
Alright, we have to make an announcement again. Two cars are blocking people. First one's a black Nissan KRW743. KRW743, please move your car. Another car, I don't know what type it is, but license plate is JHM020. Please move your car and please do not block people because it's very disruptive to the program. Next question. Can women who are menstruating teach their children Quran?
Women who are menstruating, can they teach their children Quran? طبعا some of the fuqaha have allowed this من باب التعليم, alright? من باب التعليم, from the purpose of teaching, then it is allowed. And the fatwa in our community, from what I know, Allahu A'lam, is that they can recite the Quran, even though it goes against the majority of the scholars. The majority of the scholars, they say menstruating women are not allowed to read the Quran because of a hadith narrated by Ali ibn Abi Talib in Jami' al-Tirmidhi, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا يقرأ الجنوب والحائض شيئا من القرآن, that the person in the state of janaba or in the state of menstruation does not read any part of the Quran. Although this hadith, according to the majority of the muhaddithin, is classified as weak, many of the scholars have acted upon it, alright, لِعَمَلِ الصَّحَابَةِ, because the Sahaba used to act upon it. And because this hadith is weak, some of the fuqaha have said that they're allowed to recite the Quran, therefore they're allowed to teach the Quran, although it's a minority opinion. Some of the community members or community, that's what they take by. Allah.
Just going off based off popularity, these two are related. First one is, what is the best route to get married? Second one is, can a woman put in her marriage contract that she doesn't want her spouse to marry otherwise?
As for the second one, the scholars have differed regarding it, but tahqiq Allahu A'lam is that condition is invalid because it goes against muqtada al-aqd. It goes against the essence of that contract. Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best. And the best way, as many scientists have said, is the traditional way. Many social scientists are saying we got to go back to the traditional way of marriage. So that is the best way, inshallah ta'ala, to go about it now.
How would you advise us to balance between seeking knowledge and the work/school life in general?
The best way to balance is to have a schedule. You have to have a schedule. If you don't have a schedule, then you're going to be haphazard. Then it's going to be difficult to balance anything. So you have to have a schedule, and you have to be disciplined. You have to stick to that schedule. Your friend can't call you and tell you, oh, I have to come here, do this, do that. No. You cannot change your schedule no matter what. And have some time for family and friends and leisure. So the best thing is to have a schedule. If you have a schedule, inshallah ta'ala, everything will be easy. Allah.
If someone who has knowledge is invited by people to share/teach that knowledge, but they fear that their intentions may not be pure, what should they do?
That's one person. Been invited?
No. In general, if someone, let's say someone studied, and then someone wants them to teach a class or something, but they fear their intentions are not pure. What should they do?
That is from the shaitan. Shaitan wants you not to do anything. And Al-Fulayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah ta'ala, he has a famous statement. He says that al-riya, the showing off, is tarkul amal. Tarkul amali li'ajli al-nas riya. وترك العمل لأجل الله شرك والإخلاص أن يعافيك الله منهما. That leaving off and acting because of the people is a form of showing off. And leaving off something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal is what? A form of shirk. And sincerity is for Allah to save you from both. Meaning shaitan, he doesn't want you to teach. He's going to tell you intention. He doesn't want you to pass that knowledge. Alright? This is a trick of the shaitan that Ibn al-Jawzi and Ibn al-Qayyim and many scholars have mentioned. He will tell you about sincerity, don't pass on the knowledge, don't pray sunnah salah, you're not sincere. Rather, keep doing the act and work on your sincerity. Never stop the act. Because sincerity is a journey, like we said. Sincerity is something that changes. Alright? If you feel like, for example, these 2 rak'ahs that you pray are not sincere, pray another 2 rak'ahs. Don't stop praying. Don't stop learning. Don't stop teaching. Don't stop conveying the message of Islam. Don't stop doing any khayr, sadaqah, anything. Most important thing is that you continue acting upon and work on your sincerity. And not the opposite. Don't be somebody who's sitting down standing pat. Staying on the sideline, being on the bench is not an option. Be on the court. If you're not on the court, right, that means you're a cheerleader or you're a bench warmer. You can't be a cheerleader, you can't be a bench warmer. You gotta be somebody who's on the court. Now,
just a quick advice, if everyone can upvote questions that are similar to theirs so we can know which ones are the most important ones to ask. But next question is, can I be gay and Muslim?
Now, it depends. If you believe that it is allowed in Islam, then no. And if you are struggling with it and you believe and you know that it is something that is wrong, then you have to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal and to leave off these matters because it is a major sin. No.
What is your opinion on video games? A lot of brothers who are spending a lot of time on it, and even some sisters.
Yes. Video games is something that is a form of entertainment. Depending on which video game, whether it's halal or haram, I'm not going to talk about it from that perspective. I'll talk about it from a perspective that it shouldn't be something that is more than, that should consume your time. If video games take the most of your time, it's the first thing that you do when you get done with your work or school, this is problematic. Try to have other forms of entertainment that are better. If you resort yourself to video games, it's very, very childish, right? For having that only for being involved in video games at a older age. You should have other forms of entertainment if you want to entertain yourself. And entertainment is something that is always not even secondary, so it should be at the back end. And a person should be busy themselves with something that benefits them in their life or in the akhirah. And if you want to take some time off, do sports, go for a walk, do other things, have some social entertainment, better than video games. Video games should be the last resort. Allah.
Another question based off of popularity is, how do I approach a girl I like in the most halal way possible, and vice versa?
Can I ask Sheikh Bashir that question, inshallah?
Can a menstruating woman sit in the masjid?
Now, a menstruating woman and a person in the state of janaba, they should not stay in the masjid. Alright, as Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, إِلَّا عَابِرِ سَبِيلٍ حَتَّى تَبْتَزِلُوا. Unless they are going through the masjid, they're not allowed to stay in the masjid unless they take a shower. Allah knows best, and this is the opinion of the majority of the scholars.
How do you help an older sibling to respect their parents? Even though they give their parents a hard time, the sibling is very grown.
They should know the value of parents. People should communicate to them the value of parents and their virtues, ila akhiri. And if they don't know that, then make sure they become a parent themselves. Then they'll understand what it means to be a parent. Allah.
Should I aim to marry more than one wife?
Allah Azza wa Jalla, what did He say? فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدًا. If you're afraid in being just or being fair, then stick to one. So that is the mi'yar, that is the standard. Allah.
Next question is it permissible for a woman to give lecture in front of non-mahram or in public?
I'm Yasin, bro.
Bismillah. This is not allowed. This is not allowed unless there is a barrier. Alright? And this is not from the tradition of us Muslims. This is something that is an innovation that is introduced to us in less than a decade. Alright? Women should not be giving lectures in front of men unless there is a hijab, unless there is some type of barrier. And the barrier could be different. And men giving a lecture in front of men, then we know that most of the men, they're not really listening to the lecture. And that's the unfortunate reality. And whoever gets offended by that, then facts don't care about your feelings. This is the reality. This is the truth. Right? And people nowadays, something that is very obvious is taken as sensitive. And it's made us very, very, very soft. This is something that is not allowed in our religion, something that has nothing to do with our religion, that even human beings was a new concept. It only started 100 years ago. Alright? Women in Islam are respected. We have an immense amount of respect for them. They are not to be everywhere. They are not to be in front of everyone. They're supposed to be like royalty. You see royalty everywhere? Kings and queens and princes and princesses, are they just standing anywhere? They don't come to places unless a lot of protocol happens. And that's the same thing for women in Islam. We treat women with utmost respect. Putting them in front of men, that is not respecting them, that is disrespecting them, and that is devaluing them. Allah.
What is the ruling on wearing niqab during salah?
If it's in the masjid, then la ba's inshallah ta'ala, because you're going to be in front of men. Wallahu alam.
What do you say to men who have long hair and they spend many hours taking care of it?
You spend too much time on your hair, that means you're not spending enough time doing other things. You should be doing matters that will benefit you in the akhirah or in this dunya. I'm not spending your time on matters like hair and something that is superficial. This is unfortunate. I'm not having long hair, then this is not a problem. The customs don't have a problem with it. Because the Prophet ﷺ had long hair, because at his time, the customs didn't have a problem. But if our community has a problem with it, then you should avoid it. And if they don't have a problem with it, then you can have it. But don't spend half your time, waxing or doing this 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day. If you're doing that, then unfortunately you could have used those 2 hours to do other things. Right? Spend your time wisely. Allah knows.
In what order should one prioritize the Arabic, Quran, fiqh, and other sciences? And if there's someone having difficult balancing all of them, which one should they prioritize?
Depends on the person. Tell me who you are, I'll tell you what is better for you. Depends on your situation, circumstance, background, level, a lot of other things.
What are the traits a student of knowledge should have, or habits? What are the traits a student of knowledge should have, or what habits should they also have as well?
Traits or habits? There's many traits, many habits. I don't know where to start. Right? But the most important trait is acting upon your knowledge. You can't be someone who learns and doesn't act upon it. Somebody with bad manners, somebody who doesn't pray, somebody who doesn't... Make sure you act upon your knowledge. That's probably the most important trait. Allah is best. In terms of habit, alright, I always like to give this advice. The most important habit for seeker of knowledge, start your day at Fajr. Start your day at Fajr. Don't ever sleep after Fajr. A person who sleeps at Fajr is not a seeker of knowledge. Start your day at Fajr, whatever you're doing. Work, school, make sure your day starts at Fajr. Even if you want to go hoop after Fajr. You want to do entertainment, do it after Fajr. Make sure you don't, if you're going to have a late night, make sure you have early mornings. And if you can't do that, then have an early night. Make sure you establish the habit of starting your day early. Amma, this talk of, I'm not a morning person, then you're not a seeker of knowledge. Because the barakah, the blessings, are given out in the morning.
What is the ruling of women being at burials or funerals?
Bismillah. According to the majority of scholars, it is allowed as long as it's not something that is consistent. Alright? And according to the Hanabila, it is not allowed. And this is based off the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ زَوَّارَاتِ الْقُبُورِ. Zawarat has two meanings. One meaning is women who frequent the grave at the burial. And the second meaning is women who go to the grave, period. And the Hanabila, they take by the second opinion, and the majority, they take by the first opinion. Allahu alam, and Allah knows best. And what is going on today in free mixing of burials is an unfortunate reality. Alright? Brothers and sisters who are responsible for the burials, or if your family is involved in the process, try to separate between the genders, because free mixing is not allowed in Islam at all. Alright, to the best of your ability. If things go out of your control and you can't control it, then that's something different. But you should avoid, alright, free mixing happening, Allahu alam. And if there's an opportunity for it to not be something that happens all the time, if something can be arranged like that, then that is better. Allahu alam.
Is it sunnah for men to braid their hair? And is it permissible?
No, it is not sunnah. This is from the adat of the Prophet ﷺ's time. It is not sunnah. Sunnah is not something that the Prophet ﷺ used to wear or how his hair. That is not considered sunnah. That is something the Prophet ﷺ just did because everybody did at his time. And regarding is it permissible or not, it depends on the customs of the people. If it's blameworthy amongst the customs of the people, then it is blameworthy. And if it's praiseworthy amongst the customs of the people, then it is praiseworthy, as long as it doesn't imitate the non-Muslims as well. If it meets those two conditions. depending on the customs of the people and how they look at it, and secondly, if it's imitating the non-Muslims or not. Allahu Akbar.
This one has a lot of votes, but it seems like this, as if you kind of answered it earlier. But how can I seek more knowledge in Minnesota as a teenager once I've memorized the Quran, know enough Arabic, and I've memorized most of the basic mutun?
Allah knows best.
If I miss a salah and another salah comes in, which salah should I pray first? If I miss Dhuhr and Asr comes in, which one should I pray first?
Now, you should pray Dhuhr first. You should pray Dhuhr first even though you missed, even though it's Asr time. Unless there's only a few minutes left of Asr, then you pray Asr first. That is because the Prophet ﷺ, as narrated in Bukhari and Muslim, on the day of Khandaq, he missed Salat al-Asr. فَصَلَّى الْعَصْرَ بَعْدَمَا غَرَبَتِ الشَّمْسِ. So he prayed Asr after the sun set. ثُمَّ صَلَّى بَعْدَهَا الْمَغْرِبِ. Then after that he prayed Maghrib. And the hadith is narrated by Ibn Mas'ud and Ali ibn Abi Talib and others.
Why is it that boys and girls are treated differently, as one is better than the other, but both were created by the same Rabb?
Because the boys here are a bunch of bums. They don't do anything in their lives. They're sleeping on their bed, playing video games and going to the gym. That's all they do, unfortunately. Alright? And it's a fortunate reality that we have all these sisters going to college and doing all this and working and doing this, and these guys are sleeping all day, not working, not contributing. It's an unfortunate reality. But that shows you our society, our level of society. Yeah, and the problems, it starts with you guys. As long as you guys are bums, we're never going to have any future. So you have to take the responsibility, because you're the ones that are responsible for your families. Now, so that is because of boys. Boys have to step up their game. Amma sisters, there's nothing upon them. And the guys who keep blaming women, this and that, they're the problem. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, "Man qala halaka an-nas fahuwa ahlaku." Whoever says people have been destroyed, then they are the ones destroying the people. The Prophet ﷺ taught us not to be pessimistic. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us to take responsibility. So brothers, take responsibility and stop pointing fingers.
What's the ruling of being friends with non-Muslims or people who are LGBT?
Around friends and association, there's two different things. You can have an association with non-Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ had associate non-Muslims. But being friends and having wala for them, this is not allowed. Having wala is ultimate loyalty, unrestricted loyalty. This is not allowed. But helping any non-Muslim and you trying to give them da'wah, your intent is to give them da'wah, then one of the best ways to give da'wah is by befriending them and trying to give them da'wah. So if you're going to have an association with them and you try to get close to them by giving da'wah, then this is not a problem. Allah knows best.
Another hair question. What is the ruling on undercuts and how long can hair be for taper or in general? What is considered qaza?
Allah alam. Al-qaza' is when you cut a part of your hair and another part of your hair is at a different level. And it is makruh according to the four imams. It is disliked according to the four imams. Unless it's a very, very, very small, because al-qaza' has to be at least a good part of the hair. If it's something that is very small, like a finger, then this is la ba'sa bihi, even though it might be khilaf al-awla. It still may not be the best thing to do, but it doesn't reach the level of dislikeness. Allah alam.
Let's see here. What do you say to? SubhanAllah. It's a bad question.
Questions are a reflection of the community. If you look at the questions, what are the majority of the questions about? Right? Hair and gender. It shows you where our level of intellectuality is as a community. That's the reality. So imagine we actually sought knowledge. These are basic questions. We should all know the answers to these questions. Imagine we actually sought knowledge and we had deeper questions. All right? On a higher level. Socially, economically, politically. Then, Yani. So questions are reflections of our community. Allah knows.
How do you help siblings who have substance abuse?
And that is very general. I mean, you try to help them to the best of your ability. You try to get them out of the system, but it's very hard. Once you get into that bad, it's very hard for the person to come out. That's the reality. Addiction is something very, very, very difficult. Somebody told me a statistic, and that needs to be fact-checked. I'm not saying this as a narration. Somebody told me this, that 95% of people who go to rehab centers relapse. Somebody told me the statistic, somebody in that field. Is it true, is it not? I don't know. Right? But if it's true or anything is close, if it's 60%, 70%, that tells you if rehab centers are having tough times, even though a lot of these rehab centers, it's in their financial interest for this person to be, all right, in this field. Allah Alam. So that could be part of the problem. But once a person goes down that lane, it's very, very difficult for them to get out. You ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for hidayah, you try to advise them as much as you can, you never despair, but you do what you can and you don't knock yourself for it. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. You don't guide whom you love. But I can Allah yahdi man yasha. Allah guides whomever He wishes. And maybe a person did not want to get into that, and they got into it because of certain situations. You make dua for them. You try to help them. You show sympathy and mercy towards them. Alright? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You try your best. You don't knock yourself for it.
So we'll take two more questions and we'll wrap it up. First one is, what's the ruling on saying happy birthday or happy holidays? I mean, today's Thanksgiving, so what's the ruling on celebrating the kufar's holiday?
Now, we have to differentiate between two things. The first is holidays that are religious, and secondly, holidays that are customary. And holidays that are religious, then we're not allowed to do this at all. This is muharram. As far as holidays that are customary, like birthdays and anniversaries, then this is a matter of a difference of opinion between the scholars. But I would just like to say, anybody who's celebrating the birthday, know that you're a year closer to your death. So I don't know if you really want to celebrate your death, because if you die right now, are you ready to face Allah Azza wa Jalla? Are you confident that you're going to go to Jannah? I don't think you should be celebrating. I think you should go to the masjid and start praying again. Allah Alam, Allah knows best.
So I just had one more question, but there's two that are kind of connected. The first one is oral sex considered zina? And the second question is, actually just answer that one, I'll ask them.
No, it is not considered zina, but it is considered a major sin. Allah.
Next question is, and it's tied to the first one. If you see someone committing zina, should you record as proof? Since the Sharia says it requires 4 additional people.
No, it is not allowed for you to record. But if you record, that's a major sin itself. Why? Because you're not even supposed to look in the first place. Why are you looking? And even the scholars, they say even if you catch a person doing zina by accident, you're not supposed to continue looking. And it is recommended for the judge, if he catches a person, if somebody comes with 4 witnesses and he says all 4 of us seen it is recommended for the judge to ask the 4 witnesses, how long did you see? And they'll say, we've seen it for a long time. Right? Just to prove their witness case so they don't get flawed. And what are they doing watching zina? That's a major sin in and of itself. So that means their witness is what? Nullified, because they are not udul. They're not reliable. They're fasaq, they're sinners themselves. So you should not record. It is muharram for you to record. You're not even supposed to look. If you see something going on, khalas, move away from it. You're not supposed to go and look. We're taught to lower our gaze. Both men and women are supposed to lower their gaze. So what are you doing looking at somebody doing their business? That's their lives. You don't have to worry about that. That's between them and Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's why it's never been recorded that a person brought 4 witnesses. There's a reason why 4 witnesses was put in the first place. The point of it wasn't for people to get caught. The point of it was for it to be a deterrent. The closest time is when Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he accused al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah of doing zina, and he brought 4 witnesses, and the 4th Witness, he said, no, I didn't see anything. He denied it on the day on the court, and they all had to get whipped because they testified against a person and they nearly ruined his honor. If not, they damaged his honor. Right? Till this day, we're talking about his story. So anybody you catch him doing that, or you by accident, first of all, you shouldn't fetch. You shouldn't be a detective. Don't look into the personal lives of people. Focus on your life. Right? And if you look for the awrat of others, you look for the mistakes of others, Allah will expose you to one day. Now.
Alright, inshallah, we can wrap up there. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. And again, may Allah reward you for this and increase your knowledge. So we'll be done here, but we want everyone else to stay here. Sheikh, you're free to go. Sheikh will take you to the back, inshallah. But we have a quiz here, inshallah, we'll be opening up. So everyone who's on the app, who's logged into the Slido, I'm going to open up the quiz, and so there'll be a prize for whoever gets first place. And also for those who are leaving, inshallah, there's going to be food after the quiz, inshallah. So if you're leaving and you're still hungry, have a seat and just wait. We'll be done so shortly, inshallah. So the quiz is started. It's about 10 seconds for each question. And it'll be the one who gets the most points will get the prize, inshallah. Then. All right, started.